My entitled brother mocked my bankruptcy. Then his empire collapsed overnight. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. My brother Ryan always had a flair for cruelty, but nothing prepared me for the day he toasted to my spectacular crash and burn at our family dinner. I can still hear the laughter echoing, see the glint of mockery in his eyes as he lifted his glass. To Jamie, proving that not everyone's cut out for business. Some of us are just spectators. My father chuckled along, my mother looked away, and everyone else just stared at their plates. I was invisible, except for the shame burning in my chest. I'd lost everything. My small company, my pride, gone in a whirlwind of debt and desperation. The bank called my loan, my landlord changed the locks, and suddenly, my life was boxed in the back seat of my battered Corolla. Ryan sent daily texts dripping with sarcasm. Need a loan? Or maybe just a clue. He even posted about my bankruptcy on Facebook, fishing for likes and feeding the family grapevine. Isolation became my only friend. People I once called family crossed the street to avoid awkward conversations. Even old friends, who promised they'd always have my back, stopped answering calls. Ryan, meanwhile, grew louder, richer, and more entitled by the day. His face plastered on magazine covers, Entrepreneur of the Year awards lining his office walls. What most didn't see, but I couldn't unsee, his champagne lifestyle teetered on secrets. Lavish parties, reckless spending, deals whispered late at night with men I wouldn't trust with a houseplant. I'd warned him once, he'd just laughed. You worry too much, Jamie. The world is mine. Flash forward, 1 year later. I wake up to 50 unread messages, news alerts screaming the same headline. Ryan Turner's business empire collapses amidst fraud allegations. Photos of Ryan, disheveled, surrounded by reporters, eyes hollow and desperate. I stared at my phone, 1,000 feelings warring inside. The king had fallen overnight. My brother's world had burned, just like mine. But my story wasn't over. Not by a long shot. It's strange, the way the world turns on you overnight. One day, you're the family disgrace. Next, you're the only person with a steady voice as everyone else spirals. That morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Old friends, distant cousins, even my parents, suddenly eager to check in. But I could read between the lines. They wanted gossip, not comfort. My mom left a shaky voicemail. Jamie, call us. Ryan, he's not well. They froze his accounts. It's bad. Part of me wanted to gloat, to bottle up every bitter word he'd ever thrown my way and pour it back double. But mostly, I just felt empty. I knew what it meant to lose everything. I knew that hollow ache in your gut, the dread of opening your eyes each morning. Ryan's fall was public. Viral videos of him leaving his office, paparazzi shouting, reporters shoving microphones in his face. His famous confidence was gone, replaced with panic and shame. Some of the same people who cheered him on had turned, knives out, calling him a fraud, a parasite. It was a feeding frenzy. I watched, unable to look away, as my brother was evicted from his penthouse live on the evening news. His friends vanished overnight. Investors sued. Former employees blasted him on every social channel. The empire he'd built on sand crumbled with spectacular speed. That night, my father called. The same man who'd laughed at Ryan's cruel toast. Now his voice trembled. Jamie, I know you and your brother. Things have been rough. But family is family. He needs somewhere to stay, just until things settle. I stared at the ceiling of my one-room apartment, bitterness warring with pity. Ryan, homeless, desperate, his legacy turned to ash. The brother who'd mocked me was about to land on my doorstep. I said nothing for a long time. Then, softly, let him come. But I knew. Old wounds don't heal when the past moves in. The knock on my door sounded nothing like victory. I hesitated before opening it, remembering every cruel smirk, every public jab. But when I finally pulled it open, Ryan wasn't the golden boy I'd spent my life resenting. He was pale, thin, eyes sunken, clothes rumpled as if he'd slept in them for days. He looked smaller, deflated, clutching a battered duffel bag to his chest. Hey, Jamie, he mumbled, not quite meeting my eyes. The swagger was gone. Can I? I stepped aside, fighting a surge of emotions, rage, pity, and something almost like relief. He shuffled in and stood awkwardly in the center of my tiny living room, surveying the cracked linoleum and sagging couch. He tried to break the silence with a joke, his old reflex. Nice place. Feels like college. It fell flat. I watched him take it in. How far I'd fallen, how far he'd fallen. You hungry? I asked, voice stiff. He nodded, grateful and exhausted, and sat at my tiny kitchen table as I warmed up soup. He stared at the swirling broth, lost in thought. I wondered if he saw himself in me now, if he finally understood. So, he finally said, not quite looking up. Guess we're both at rock bottom, huh? The silence was heavy, but there was no more hiding from it. Yeah, I said, but I got here first. You laughed, remember? His jaw clenched, shame and regret flickering across his face. I know. I was an ass. I thought I was untouchable. Outside, rain tapped at the window, soft, relentless, washing the city clean. He took a shaky breath. I need a place. Just for a while. I nodded. You can stay, but things aren't like they used to be. He looked up at me. Truly looked, maybe for the first time in years. I know. As night fell, Ryan unpacked his bag in silence. Old grudges and new wounds settled in with us, refusing to be ignored. But I knew secrets didn't stay buried for long, especially in my family. Ryan barely slept that first night. I heard him pacing the living room long after midnight, the wooden floor creaking under restless footsteps. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, fighting the urge to confront him, about his mockery, about how quickly fortune can flip. But anger was a dull ache now, mixed with something heavier, the knowledge that I'd always wanted his respect, even when it was poisoned. In the morning, Ryan looked wrecked. He poured himself coffee with shaking hands and flinched when my phone buzzed. I watched him, searching for the old arrogance, but all I saw was a man stripped bare. A string of texts from our aunt arrived. Be careful, Jamie. There's more to Ryan's mess than he's telling you. People are talking. I didn't respond. I was too busy watching my brother scroll through his own phone, jaw tightening with every notification. He looked up, eyes bloodshot. You see the news? I saw, I said quietly. His lips twisted. They're after me, Jamie. Not just the press. Investors, ex-partners. They want blood. I never thought. He stopped himself, staring into his cup. I studied him, weighing sympathy against self-preservation. Was any of it real? The awards, the big talk. Was it all smoke and mirrors? He stared out the window, voice barely a whisper. I wanted to believe it. Maybe if I acted untouchable, I'd become untouchable. Guess we both know that's a lie now. The doorbell rang, a sharp, impatient buzz. Ryan tensed, fear flickering across his face. Don't answer, he hissed. Not yet. Please. My heart pounded as the bell sounded again, louder, more insistent. Shadows shifted behind the glass. I looked at Ryan, realizing for the first time, the collapse of his empire wasn't just financial. Whatever was coming, it was personal, and it was coming for both of us. The doorbell's insistent ringing filled the silence, slicing through whatever fragile peace we'd managed. Ryan's eyes darted to the hallway, his voice low and desperate. Don't say my name. If anyone asks, I'm not here. It was too late. The knocking turned to pounding. I steeled myself, opened the door just a crack, and peered out. Two men in sharp suits, both strangers, stared back with faces carved from stone. Jamie Turner, one of them asked, flipping open a badge, private security, not police. We need to speak with your brother. It's urgent. I hesitated, pulse racing. He's not here. The man smiled, thin and cold. Tell him we'll be back. Tell him time's up, and hiding behind family won't save him. Before I could answer, they turned and strode down the hall, their footsteps echoing like a threat. I closed the door, locking it, my hands shaking. Ryan emerged from the bedroom, white as a sheet. They found me, he whispered. God, I thought I could at least get a day to breathe. I rounded on him, anger rising. What did you do, Ryan? Who are you running from? He sank onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. It started small, loans, partnerships, trying to save what I built. But I got desperate. I made deals I couldn't keep, with people I shouldn't have trusted. My stomach twisted. Are we in danger? He nodded miserably. If they think you're helping me, maybe. A cold dread settled over me. My own life, already rebuilt from ruins, was now at risk again, not from my own failures, but from my brother's shadow. The phone buzzed. Another message, this one from an unknown number. You're next, Jamie. Pay up or pay the price. My blood ran cold. I realized Ryan's fall wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of a much darker reckoning. I stared at the message, my hands icy and numb. You're next, Jamie. Pay up or pay the price. The words bled into my mind, dredging up the fear I thought I'd left behind with bankruptcy. Ryan watched me, his face a mix of guilt and terror. I never wanted to drag you into this, he said, voice barely a whisper. I didn't have anywhere else to go. Anger flared. You always had somewhere to go, Ryan. You just never thought you'd actually need help from me. He winced, but I pressed on. How much do you owe? He hesitated, shame settling on his shoulders like a shroud. More than I could ever pay back. I tried to get out. I thought if I sold the penthouse, the car, it'd be enough. But every time I paid one off, another showed up. I paced the room, panic threatening to choke me. Did you use my name for anything? His eyes darted away. That was answer enough. Rage and betrayal welled up, sharp and cold. You dragged me under with you, I said, my voice trembling. You let them think I had something to do with your mess. He finally looked at me, eyes shining with desperate regret. I'm sorry, Jamie. I was scared. Before I could reply, my phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. A gravelly voice crackled on the other end. Jamie Turner. Tell your brother time's up. But maybe you can make things right for both of you. Meet us tomorrow. We'll send the address. Don't call the cops. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, heart pounding, realization crashing down. Whatever came next, I'd have to face it. Not just for me, but for the brother who once watched me drown and now was gasping for air beside me. The debt wasn't just his anymore. It was ours. Sleep was impossible that night. Every sound outside twisted into menace. Every shadow threatened violence. Ryan tried to apologize again, but I brushed him off. I wasn't ready to forgive, not with danger closing in from all sides. My mind spun with ugly possibilities. Debt collectors, threats, violence. I'd clawed my way out of ruin once. Could I survive again, this time with Ryan shackled to me? Morning bled gray through the curtains. We sat in silence until a new message arrived with an address and a warning. No police. Come alone. Ryan's hand trembled as he reached for coffee. You shouldn't do this, he murmured. It's my mess. I laughed, cold and bitter. Since when do you face your messes, Ryan? I'm already involved. Let's hear what they want. The address was a crumbling warehouse on the edge of the city, classic bad movie territory. We went together, nerves frayed and words sparse, every step heavy with dread. Inside, 3 men waited. The leader, a man in a tailored suit with a scar tracing his jaw, smiled when he saw us. Jamie Turner, the loyal sibling. Welcome. I forced my voice steady. What do you want? He circled us, predatory calm. Your brother owes us, but now his reputation is worthless. You, however, you're clean. Rebuild your business. Cut us in. We take half. Or, he glanced at Ryan. You both disappear. Ryan went pale, mouth working soundlessly. My head spun. They wanted me as their golden goose, banking on my hunger to claw back what I'd lost. Rage flared. After all Ryan had done, now my life, my second chance, was on the line. The man leaned in, voice low. Decide by tomorrow. Walk away, and you'll never be safe again. He turned, his men blocking our exit. We stumbled into the sunlight, the city suddenly too bright. Ryan sagged beside me, broken. I'm so sorry, he whispered. But apologies meant nothing. My future, my freedom, now hinged on a devil's bargain. The walk back to my apartment felt endless. Ryan trailed beside me, silent, every ounce of swagger finally scraped away. I wanted to scream at him, to shake him until he understood what he'd done, but all I could muster was cold, exhausted resolve. The choice was clear. Let these men own me, or fight back and risk everything. I'd lost my pride once. I refused to lose myself again. Back inside, I slammed the door, turning to face Ryan. You need to leave. Now. He flinched. Where would I go? I don't care, Ryan. You made this bed. Now sleep in it. My voice was raw. I can't keep rescuing you. Not if it means losing my own life. He started to argue, but the words caught in his throat. Jamie, please. I'll do anything. Just help me fix this. I shook my head, tears threatening. It's always me, isn't it? You get rich, I get mocked. You fall, I get buried. This is where it stops. The tension snapped. He staggered out, shoulders hunched, disappearing down the hall. I locked the door and slid to the floor, breath shallow, the walls closing in. My phone buzzed, one new message. Not from Ryan, not from the debt collectors. It was from Marissa, an old business partner I hadn't spoken to since the bankruptcy. Heard about Ryan. If you want a real way out, call me. I know what they're planning. A shiver ran through me. Someone else was watching. Another player in this game, one who might hold a key. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I wasn't as alone as I thought. But every choice from here would carve a line in the sand, between loyalty and survival, revenge and freedom. I sat on the floor for a long time, Marissa's message burning a hole in my pocket. The urge to call her warred with the fear that any move I made would make things worse. But desperation is a powerful motivator, especially when you're already standing at the edge. When I finally dialed her number, my hands shook. She picked up on the first ring. Jamie. I wondered how long it'd take. Marissa, I need help. Ryan dragged me into something ugly. These guys, my voice broke. They want half of everything I build from now on, or they'll ruin us both. She was quiet for a beat. I know who you're dealing with. They tried to get their claws into my new company last year. I paid them off once, but it's never enough. If you give in, they'll bleed you dry. I closed my eyes, relief and dread mixing in my gut. So what do I do? A faint smile in her voice. I have a contact in financial crimes. Anonymous tip, the right paperwork, and you might get the Fed's attention. It's risky, but safer than playing their game forever. If you want out, you'll have to be willing to burn everything, including Ryan's last scraps of pride. I hesitated. Turning them in would make me a target, and Ryan, he might never forgive me. But the alternative was living as someone else's puppet, forever. Okay, I said quietly. I'm in, but I need a plan. We'll meet tomorrow. I'll bring what I have. After I hung up, I sank back against the wall, the first glimmer of control lighting inside me. Outside, rain streaked the window. I texted Ryan, no answer. The silence between us grew heavy, but I felt strangely free. Maybe I'd finally stopped carrying his sins on my shoulders. A sharp knock at the door jolted me back. I crept over, heart pounding. Jamie. It was Ryan, soaked, desperate. I have nowhere else. Please. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again. This time, a chilling photo. Ryan, taken seconds ago, standing at my door. The message, remember, we're watching. Panic crashed in. The game had changed. I wasn't just fighting for freedom, I was fighting for our lives. My breath caught as I stared at the photo, heart thundering. Someone was out there, close enough to snap a picture of Ryan at my door, close enough to prove just how tightly the noose had closed around us. Ryan banged again, voice muffled by panic and rain. I let him in, locking the door behind him. He dripped onto the carpet, shivering, eyes wide with terror. Jamie, what do we do? They sent me that photo too. Said I had one day left. I tried to steady my voice. We're done running, Ryan. I called Marissa. She's got connections, real ones. She can help get the feds involved. He recoiled. You'd rat them out? You'd risk it? I'd risk anything to get my life back. I snapped. And you should have thought about that before you let them drag us both under. He flinched, shame pulling his shoulders in. What if they come for us before that? I handed him a towel, forcing my hands not to shake. We keep our heads down. We meet Marissa tomorrow. If we want out, this is our only shot. Ryan sat, hunched and haunted, the gap between us wider than ever. For the rest of the night, we barely spoke, each trapped in our own regrets. Sleep came in scraps. I woke to every noise, expecting shadows at the window, footsteps in the hall. I scrolled through the threats, reread Marissa's plan, and tried to believe escape was still possible. Morning was gray and cold. We left together, nerves stretched thin, every step toward the cafe feeling like it might be our last. Marissa waited in a back booth, folder in hand, her expression as serious as I'd ever seen. This is it, she whispered. You go to the feds, you cut all ties with Ryan. It's the only way they'll believe you're clean. I'll back you up, but you have to decide now. Ryan's face drained of color. You're just going to throw me to the wolves? I turned to him, voice trembling but clear. You did that to me once. Now I have to save myself. His eyes filled with a hurt I almost recognized. For the first time, I wondered, Was this the moment our story finally broke free from the past, or the one where it all crashed down for good? Marissa slid the folder across the table, her eyes locked on mine. Everything's here: bank records, emails, contracts your brother signed with those men. Enough to get the investigation started. If you want to walk away, Jamie, you have to do it now. There's no turning back. I stared at the stack of evidence, hands trembling. Every document was a nail in the coffin of Ryan's former life, and maybe my own guilt. He sat beside me, silent, his knuckles white as he clenched his coffee cup. All the bravado, the old arrogance, gone. I can't do this alone, Ryan finally whispered. But if you turn that in, you know what they'll do to me. Maybe to you too. I swallowed, torn between the part of me that remembered the little brother who once followed me everywhere, and the adult who'd watched that same brother mock my ruin. I can't live like this, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I won't. Marissa reached for my hand. You have to choose, Jamie. You save yourself, or you keep letting him pull you under. No one can do both. Ryan's face twisted with fear, then anger, then something like acceptance. I made this mess, he said, finally meeting my eyes. But I'm not going to drag you down with me anymore. We sat in silence, the weight of years of rivalry and hurt pressing on us both. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance, a reminder that time was running out. Slowly, I gathered the folder and stood. I'm sorry, Ryan. I really am. He looked away, jaw clenched, a single tear sliding down his cheek. Just be careful. I turned to Marissa. Let's go. As we left the cafe, the air felt sharper, every sound more vivid. I knew the next hours would define the rest of my life. I was finally breaking free, but I'd never felt more alone. We stepped out into the sharp morning air, the folder gripped tight in my hands. I felt every eye on me, real or imagined. Every shadow on the sidewalk could be someone watching, every car a threat. Marissa led the way, head high, calm in a way I envied. We reached the federal building downtown. My feet felt made of stone as we entered. The receptionist barely glanced up, but Marissa knew exactly what to say. Within minutes, we were ushered into a small, windowless room where a stern agent waited, notebook open. I handed over the folder. This is everything I have. My brother, he got involved with the wrong people. Now they want to use me, too. I want out. I want to help. The agent looked at me for a long moment, sizing me up. We take threats like this seriously. If what's in here checks out, we'll protect you. But you need to cut all contact with your brother. If you warn him, we can't help you. A cold wave washed over me. I understand. We spend hours going through every detail, dates, names, accounts, threats. The weight in my chest never left. Marissa stayed by my side, her presence a quiet anchor. When it was done, the agent offered me a thin smile. You did the right thing, but things might get worse before they get better. Walking out of that building felt surreal, like stepping into a new life I hadn't chosen. My phone buzzed Ryan. The screen lit up with his name over and over, but I didn't answer. I sat in the park with Marissa, watching sunlight shimmer through the leaves. For the first time in years, I felt the faintest glimmer of hope. Freedom, so close I could almost taste it. But as I stood to leave, a message pinged from an unknown number. We know what you did. My blood ran cold. I realized the fight was far from over. The real reckoning was about to begin. The message sent my heart lurching, panic washing away any illusion of safety. I shoved the phone into my pocket and forced myself to breathe. Marissa noticed instantly. What is it? She asked, voice low. I showed her the text. Her jaw tightened. They move fast, Jamie. But you did the right thing. Now, we have to be smarter. We kept moving, watching every shadow, every face. That night, I was relocated. An unmarked sedan pulled up, agents ushering me into protective housing. The apartment was sterile, stripped of anything familiar. I spent the hours staring out the window, sleep impossible, waiting for the next threat. Ryan tried calling again and again. I let it ring, hating myself for the silence, but the risk was too great. I replayed his broken voice at the cafe. I'm not going to drag you down with me anymore, wondering if he meant it, or if he was just scared. 2 days later, news broke. Several of the men who'd threatened us were arrested in a citywide sweep. Marissa messaged me. It's happening. Stay strong. But with the arrests came backlash. Someone smashed the mailbox at my old apartment, spray-painted traitor on the door. My family flooded my phone. Panic, confusion, even blame. How could you turn on your brother? You always were jealous. I shut it all out, focusing on the steps I had to take. I worked with the agents, shared every detail I could remember, every piece of evidence Marissa and I had collected. Piece by piece, the web unraveled. But the threats didn't stop. Each day brought new messages, warnings, and shadows at the edge of my new life. Then, late one night, I got an email. No sender, just a short video file. I clicked play with trembling hands. It was Ryan, sitting alone in a motel room, eyes red and swollen. Jamie, if you're seeing this, it means everything's out in the open. I'm sorry for all of it. I'm sorry I wasn't the brother you deserved. Whatever happens next, don't look back. His face flickered and faded to black. I sat there, tears finally falling, wondering what price we'd both pay for the truth. The days blurred together as the investigation unfolded. My world shrank to the four walls of protective custody and the lifeline of updates from Marissa and the agents. The threats still came, blocked numbers, messages left in code, a car parked too long across the street. But I clung to the hope that this time, justice was catching up with the monsters who'd preyed on my brother and me. My family was split. My parents pleaded for me to fix this, blaming me for Ryan's ruin. Old friends resurfaced only to ask for the story, their curiosity sharp as knives. But there were moments of solidarity, too. Marissa, unyielding at my side. One old college friend who simply texted, "Proud of you. You did what nobody else could." Those words meant more than I could say. Meanwhile, Ryan vanished. The police searched, the press speculated, and every night I wondered, was he hiding or had he run out of road? His video echoed in my mind. Don't look back. I wanted to hate him, to shut the door forever, but grief is never simple. Even betrayal leaves scars that ache in the quiet hours. Then, in the middle of another sleepless night, a call came from the lead agent. "We got them, Jamie. The whole ring. Your evidence was the final nail." Relief crashed through me, sharp and overwhelming. I cried then, full, shuddering sobs, letting years of tension drain away at last. But freedom comes at a cost. The next morning, I found a letter slid under my door. "You think it's over? You're wrong. The world forgets, but we don't. Watch your back." I stared at the threat, fear a cold stone in my gut, but I didn't crumble. I was different now, stronger. As I watched the sun rise through the kitchen window, I realized I'd paid dearly for my freedom. My life would never be what it was, but maybe, just maybe, I could build something new from the ashes. Tomorrow, I would step into the world as someone reborn, not as Ryan's shadow, but as my own person. The morning sun felt different, brighter, gentler, as if the world had decided to offer me a sliver of mercy. I brewed coffee, savoring the silence, the taste of hard-won peace. There were scars, on my reputation, my relationships, my trust, but I was alive, free, and finally, no one's pawn. I met Marissa at a quiet cafe downtown. She hugged me tight, her own relief showing in the way she didn't let go right away. "It's really over, Jamie. They're gone. The feds say the threats will fade. Just be careful for a while." I nodded, letting out a shaky breath. "Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you." She smiled, warm and tired. "You did the hard part. You let go." Back home, I sorted through the reminders of my old life. Bankruptcy notices, news clippings about Ryan, family photos that still hurt to look at. I didn't know what would become of my brother. Part of me grieved for him. Part of me felt relief. I hoped, wherever he was, he might find a way to start again. Maybe we both would. I reached out to my parents. The conversation was stilted, but honest for the first time in years. I told them I needed space to heal, to learn who I was beyond their expectations and Ryan's shadow. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a beginning. Days passed. Each step felt lighter. I started a new job, smaller, quieter, but mine. I found myself smiling at strangers, lingering in bookstores, enjoying freedom instead of fearing what came next. One evening, as golden light flooded my apartment, I looked in the mirror and saw someone I barely recognized, stronger, wiser, a survivor. The bitterness had softened, replaced by something almost like hope. My story wasn't about revenge or even vindication. It was about choosing myself, at last, after a lifetime of being defined by someone else's chaos. And for the first time, that felt like enough.